Reliability and Cronbach alpha.
Okay. Om Shahana Bhavatu Shahano Bhunaktu Shahobirjam Karvavahai Tejasvina Bodhi Tamostu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, thank you, sir. So today we would be talking about what is reliability. So basically, what are the types of reliability, and very not much in detail. We would be specifically focusing on uh, internal consistency and Cronbach alpha, because all of us have studied reliability in detail previously and we know what reliability is. So Yashwati, can you explain what is reliability?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, reliability is consistency of scores of a test.
Right.
If we perform it again and again on the same sample,
Does
it
it
means
have
the
to be
test is valid, more reliable.
okay? Does it have to be same sample or
Ma'am,
similar sample?
sometimes it may be same sample or maybe similar sample also. Depends on the type of reliability.
Okay, so what are the types of reliability?
Split half reliability and one more. It's related to time. Skip हो गया नाम. Yes, mainly two type of reliability are there.
Okay, what happens in split half reliability?
In split half reliability, we divide in two parts like odd and even or 50-50
Okay.
to perform that test. Yes.
So how do we do the odd even? Can you give me an example?
Yes, ma'am.
How to do odd even?
For example, even number series one side and odd number series 1, 3, 5, I think.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll quickly.
Other is yes, ma'am. Other is test-retest reliability. On the same sample, we measure the after some time, one week or 15 days time, or according to the test.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So we would be talking about reliability, types of reliability, and factors affecting reliability. And then we would be moving towards Cronbach alpha and why we need to, where and how to calculate Cronbach alpha and where it is important. So let's talk about the definition. According to Anastasi and Urbina, reliability refers to the consistency of scores obtained by the same person when they are re-examined with the same test on different occasions with different set of equivalent items or under other variable examining conditions. So we are re-examining with the same test. So in your case, when you will attempt to measure test-retest reliability, then what will you do? You would use your test and you would administer the test on same people, the same test either you will use the same test or you would use different sets of equivalent items. What do you understand by equivalent items?
Quality is same, but words are not, matlab, are not same exactly.
Right. So they are measuring the same thing, just the use of words could be different. So can you give
Yes.
me an example of equivalent items?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, try. Give from your own test, the test items which you have designed for your own test. If you were to design two equivalent items, how would you write the language of the same?
Yes, ma'am. Thinking. For example, which I always like to master the task I take up during work. The same item we can also ask like, I like to mastery
I like
mastering.
to have good expertise on the things I pursue. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
could use different synonym of the same word. So there could be some synonyms of mastery, that could be command, that could be expertise. So that would signify that you are designing the item which has something to do with gaining mastery. And in the equivalent form, if the first item would be I like to gain mastery over my subject, and in the other form, other equivalent form would have the equivalent item which would be talking about mastery but with a different set of words which would include the synonym. Okay. So reliability, meaning of reliability, it refers to the precision, accuracy of the measurement of the score. A reliable test is that which produces identical or at least highly similar result for an examinee from one occasion to the other. A test is said to be consistent over a given period of time when all the examinees retain the same relative ranks of two separate tests with the same test. So it does not have to be absolutely identical, but highly similar results, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if let's talk about it, if a person A is getting score on a math test, one was done in January, other one was done, say, March. Okay, it is done, this the person A, and it is the math test. And out of 10, that person gets 7. Okay, this is January, this is March, this is May. Okay, so one, if the same test we are using, if the person is, or there are 3 equivalent form of the same. So if a person is being tested on the test of for number system, so it all 3 would have equivalent items with equivalent similar difficulty. So if he's getting 7, 8, 7.5. This is for test number 1, which is maths. Now for another test, call it Hindi. This is maths. This is Hindi. For the first quarterly examination, that person gets 9, then he gets 8 marks, then he gets 8.5. Now the third test, say English, if a person gets a 7, then 5, then 0. Which one do you think has stronger reliability? Which one do you think has stronger reliability? Can you hear me?
हेलो
Yes, Yashwati.
यस मैम ये सेकंड वाला जो आपने बताया एक बार इसको रिपीट कर दो मैथ्स हिंदी इंग्लिश वाला
9, sorry. 9, 8 and 8.5. This is maths, this is Hindi, this is English. These are the 3 months, January, March and May. This person is, name is A, his roll number is 1. This is the
Both-
test of Hindi, this is the test of English, 7, 5 and 0.
7 5
This is 0.
okay
Which
first
of the-
वाला था
which one,
reliability high
which performance do you think has, and which is a good description of reliability?
first one which obtained 8.5 and 9
Okay. What if this person gets 9 here, not 0? Then
then also reliability of the first one is higher
why is that so?
because there is much difference in scores 5 9 and 7
So
yes
either when we are talking about highly similar results from one occasion to other, here we have 3 instances, 3 months, January, March and May, and the marks obtained are 7, 8 and 7.5, 9, 8 and 8.5, 7, 5 and 9. These are highly similar, whereas these are also highly similar, but not as much as these. And these are, however, increasing, but the performance is not as reliable as these 3. So this is how reliability is calculated for a test which you have created and the items you have designed. So this is how we proceed. So statistically, reliability is defined as the ratio of variation of the true score and the variation of observed score. So what is the true score and what is the observed score and what is the ratio between the two? And if you want to calculate error score, 1 minus the ratio of the variation of the error score and the variation of the observed score. So if there is more variation, then the error score would be higher. So there are few of the concepts in reliability, which is error variance, true variance and error score. Error variance is usually, it indicates how much random fluctuation is expected within the scores, the sum of all the uncontrolled sources of variation that are likely to affect independent variables. So when we were talking about identical and similar, we were also assuming that our scores are sometimes subjected to some fluctuations due to some uncontrolled sources, and they are likely to affect dependent variables. What if the person's in a matter of 15 days, a person, there is something very traumatic happens with the person, and due to that the person's achievement motivation score drops. The person is the same, the test is the same, but due to some uncontrolled sources, which might due to which some fluctuation is occurring in the scores, then that is explained by error variance. True variance is naturally occurring variability within or among research participant. So even if the test is same, the participant is same, it is assumed that there are some naturally occurring variability within or among research participant. This means that some amount of variability will be there even if uh, all the all the external sources are controlled. That is why when we use statistics, the confidence interval, do you know what is the meaning of those two confidence interval which we use in
No,
statistics?
ma'am.
0.95 and 0.05 and 0.01.
Yes, ma'am. Heard.
You must have heard because you are a psychology student.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But why it is 95%? So if you basically understand, it means 95% of the time, if all the factors are controlled, it would give. So if your score is occurring for the 0.05 level of confidence, that means 95% of the time it would give the similar results, but that 5% is still we cannot determine. And when it is 90.01% of confidence level of confidence, that means 99% of the time it would uh, elicit the
Significance.
same or similar results. That is why this is where statistics is different from mathematics. In mathematics, all the time there would be same. If a formula is being applied, if BODMAS is being applied 20 years ago, today it would elicit the same results. But in statistics, there are so many sources of variability, error variance, true variance, error scores, and there are so specifically when you are talking about statistics and psychology, there are so many factors, extraneous variables, confounding variables, which are likely to make changes in our test scores. That is why the maximum confidence interval is 0.01, not even 100%, and that is also very rare. So that is the meaning of those confidence intervals which we look for in our statistics test when we calculate t-scores, chi-squares, and other parametric statistics. So now let's come to error score. In classical test theory, the difference between a person's observed measurement or score and his or her expected measurement or score, it is called as residual score and error score. So yes, this is a very clear thing of difference between the person's observed score and their expected measurement. That is, if you deduct both of them, then this is how you get error score. So this is the formula for reliability coefficient. Reliability coefficient is the ratio of true score variance to the total variance of the test score. So when we were talking about those three concepts, because on the basis of these error variance, true variance and error scores, we are able to identify how much the test is reliable, how much our items are reliable, how much the test scores which we have received are reliable. So this is the ratio of true score. So this is the ratio of true score variance 2 divided by the ratio of total variance of the test scores. So this is how the reliability coefficient is calculated. This is the formula. There are different types of reliability in terms of stability, in terms of internal consistency. So Yashwati spoke about test-retest reliability and parallel or equivalent split half. So there is parallel or equivalent form and reliability in terms of internal consistency. So why are we talking about external consistency and why we are talking about internal consistency? Have you heard of these terms before?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you understand by internal consistency or external consistency?
Ma'am, internal consistency is when external disturbances are controlled. I mean, controlled situations are there. Then we conduct a test. Am I right, ma'am?
Okay, then what is internal consistency?
I'm talking about internal consistency. Yes. And external consistency when uh, outer factors are not controlled. Environmental factors are not controlled.
Okay. So you are wrong in both the times. So okay, when we talk about reliability and when we talk about reliability in terms of external and internal consistency, internal consistency is extent to which a measure is where we are talking about external consistency. So it means the extent to which a measure varies from one use to another. One use to another. Test-retest means, what does test-retest means? If one time it was used, what if it was used multiple times? And if we are using it externally multiple times, then are we receiving the similar or identical test scores? This is what the external consistency or stability means. What does it mean by internal consistency? If the test has 10 items, if we split the test into 5 items each, are those two going to measure the same thing? Okay, let me give you an easy example. Suppose you buy a cake from a very fancy and famous bakery. Okay.
Okay.
And that cake is chopped into 5 pastries.
Yes, ma'am.
That cake is divided into 5 pastries. So if every pastry would taste similar, that means it is made by the same flour, the same ingredients are used, they are baked at the same temperature, same person has used the same amount of things, the butter and all the ingredients. That means even if the cake is divided into 20 pieces, it would taste the same. Are you able to understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
So that if you apply the same formula on your test, if you have 20 items which are measuring achievement motivation, if you split them half, first 5 and last 5, or odd and with the help of odd and even method, are they still going to measure achievement motivation? Are they
Yes.
internally consistent? This
Yes,
that describes internal consistency. So external consistency means if I have a recipe of a cheesecake, if I use the same method again and again and again, is it going to make the same cake, or is there going to be some difference in a way that cake is baked? That is the external thing. We are not checking what is happening. We are just following a recipe. And we have given the same recipe to 5 people who, sorry, a set of people who we are controlling the other things. So this is how we are using the same recipe from different use to another. If I am using the same recipe of cheesecake, Yashwati is using the same cake, same recipe, Iti is using the same recipe. If all of us bake a cake on the same recipe, are we going to, we are actually using the test-retest,
yes, ma'am.
right? Okay. So when we are talking about parallel and equivalent forms, let me give you another example with the help of a recipe. So all of us have tried making coffee at home, and every chef or every person has their own way of making coffee. So whether you have this, so I am making coffee, but the recipes could be slightly different, but all of them are coffee recipe, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Here you have to be specific that if I am talking about coffee, and if I am assuming a cold coffee and you are assuming a hot coffee, then it won't be equivalent. Both of us have to make cold coffee only. There might be slight variation, but we are making coffee. We are using the same all 3 or 4 set of ingredients. So they are parallel or equivalent. Okay. So this is how we are determining reliability in terms of external consistency or stability. And when we are talking about reliability in terms of internal consistency, there are 3 methods: split half, Cronbach alpha, and Kuder Richardson. So let's go ahead, because why are we talking about it? We have been studying reliability every single time, but now we have to compute reliability. So is Iti also here?
No, ma'am.
No, Iti is not here. So Iti Ashwati, have you submitted your questionnaire?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you started collecting data on the same?
I have collected, ma'am, 33 responses.
33 responses
Yes, on 20 item questionnaire.
on 20 item questionnaire.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then do one more thing. Uh, find an achievement motivation questionnaire which is already there,
Okay.
and then get it filled by 30 people.
Okay.
If the same it were the same individuals, that would be better.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then we would be able to compute parallel or equivalent form reliability in the next class.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so try to if you have got 33, try to have at least 100, because you would be writing a paper on the same at the end of our internship that I have created. I have created a questionnaire on achievement motivation for, say, banking professionals or anything like that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Test-retest reliability. It is the most frequently used method to find reliability of the test by administering the test twice on the same sample with a reasonable time gap. Test-retest reliability measures the stability of scores between 2 points of time within the same participant. So we have, when we are using test-retest reliability, we have to ensure that only change is the temporal change, but the individuals would have to be the same. The participants have to be the same. And the reliability coefficient is test-retest reliability is the correlation between the scores obtained by the same person on two administration of the test. Okay. But it is a time-consuming method, because suppose you get the data of 100 students, then after 15 days you have to do administer the same test on those students. Then it can take time, and it might also get very difficult for you to get the same individuals for the second time. So this is the limitation of this method, that it is a time consuming method. There is error variance to the random fluctuation of performance from one test session to another test session. There is one problem related to this test is the controversy about the interval between two administration. But it is a good method to estimate reliability of both speed test and power test. So when we do a speed test or a power test, then test-retest reliability is very helpful. So can you give me an example of a speed test and a power test?
Ma'am, in a speed test, items are arranged in sequence on the basis of the level. First easy questions are there, and sequentially hard questions come back to that. And limited time is not given. And another limited time is given to complete the test. And order of the questions are not arranged in sequence on the basis of the difficulty level.
Have you ever administered a Wechsler adult intelligence test?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you aware of SPM?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of test is that?
Power test.
Right. Then how would a speed test look like?
If in the same test, for example, time is given that we have, for example, ma'am, NAT exam.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Is NET examination a speed test or a power test or a combination of both?
Combination of both.
Because we do not have all day to
Sequence.
right.
Yeah.
We do not have all day to solve all the questions. We have certain time, and the questions are also of different difficulty. So it is using both the properties of reliability. Okay, one more interesting example of reliability is we use that when we appear for net examination in 2 seasons.
Yes,
Once in the June attempt and one in the January attempt. It is using the same syllabus. We are the same person. What if
Yes.
we keep getting 51%, 52%, 53% in the three test trials attempts? So
Reliability is high in test.
reliability is high. The test reliability is also high. The performance is also in the same range. But what if I'm not able to clear in one attempt, and in one attempt I am clearing JRF, and in the next attempt I am only able to clear for the assistant professor? That means whose reliability is questionable here? The test's reliability or a person who is attempting for the test?
Person who is attempting the test. But ma'am, also it may be the test reliability now. If we are attempting the same test or the equivalent test, so the person become familiar to the questions or the syllabus. So 1 or 2% may increase in every attempt.
1 or 2, yeah, that is understandable, that due to some practice effect a person might be achieving. So suppose a person is constantly clearing net examination for 5 to 6 attempts, then how would you attribute these successes to? That the person has the the person has an optimum amount of understanding of the syllabus, also the practice effect.
Yes, ma'am.
The person is clearing for assistant professor for 5 to 6 attempts. But what if a person clears JRF in one attempt and then fails in the next attempt and then only able to clear for assistant professor? So how would you identify if the person is lacking somewhere or the test has to be questioned? What is a way of identifying that?
The person, not the person, the test is questionable, I think.
Okay. How can you say that?
If the person is getting JRF in one attempt and next attempt he's not even getting net, and in third he's able to qualify for assistant professor. So because the test is questionable. So
Test is questionable. Okay. Okay. So let me give you another addition. What if you can see the cutoff of all the three attempts, the cutoff is not much fluctuated. Suppose the cutoff has been 60, 61, 61.5 for all the three. That means cutoff is based on the performance of the people on the same test. That means there is not much difference. If the test have been do you know यशवती, अगर किसी टेस्ट की लेवल बहुत हाई हो जाता है तो उसकी कट ऑफ गिर जाती है.
yes, ma'am.
And agar if the test is too easy, the cutoff increase because more people are able to answer the questions correctly, because the test is overall easy for most of the students. Then only the cutoff is increased.
Yes.
So if I say in this case, the cutoff, there is not much fluctuation in the cutoff. That means the test is reliable.
Yes, ma'am. So the person is
The
questionable.
person preparation which is not consistent.
Yes.
So that is how you identify whom to blame if if the test was difficult or my performance was not at par. Okay.
My performance. Yes.
So why I was talking about the scores, how to measure test-retest reliability. So this is the class IQ scores. These are some students: John, Joe, Mary, Kathy, and David. And the first time they are getting 125, 110, 130, 122, 115. Second time they're getting 120, 112, 128, 120, 120. So there is some stability in the test scores. There is not much fluctuation. So this is how test-retest reliability. So this is how we graphically put test 1, and there is some gap, and then there is test 2. Okay, the second type is alternate or parallel form. It is also known as parallel form, equivalent forms, and comparable forms reliability. Measures the consistency of results of two parallel forms of the same test constructed in the same way. So, Yashwati, have you ever administered 16 PF?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you carefully see if you remember the format, the proforma which was given for 16 PF, it had some, okay, you might not remember what the proforma of 16 PF looks like, but 16 PF has some alternative forms. If you have seen the questionnaire, sometimes it is written 16 PF form A, and sometimes it is written form B, form C.
Yes, ma'am.
So when it is written like that, the test developer is trying to has the same has a pool of items, and he makes or constructs 2 to 3 forms in the same way. And while the person is trying to establish reliability for 16 personality factors, that person, okay, let me help you understand with the, so the 16 PF, suppose that person जो भी 16 PF का डेवलपर है, उसने फॉर्म ए बनाया when he was trying to design, trying to establish reliability. Then he made form B from the same pool of items. And then when he was trying to establish reliability, these were the people, 1, 2, 3, until n. N number means n number. Kitne bhi liye honge, we don't know. So when he made 2 forms, form A and form B, there must be some number reliability coefficient he must have received for all the 2 forms, right? So
Yes.
in a way, he was also trying to administer the alternate and parallel form reliability. And why do you think people try to do this type of reliability? Because sometimes we do not have a previous test or the test scores available. So rather than doing a test on two same test on different time, that person tries to gain correlation between the scores obtained on the 2 forms which represent reliability coefficient of the test, so that 2 parallel forms of the same test are constructed in the same way. So wahan pe it helps in calculating the parallel form. So when the reliability is high, one can use both of the forms. So if a person has an, if I want to calculate administer personality, if I want to know your personality, if your personality is a good fit for my company, and at the recruitment, if I am trying to assess your personality, if your personality is the right fit for my company, then I would give you a form A, and after 6 months I would give you the form B. So if you were faking on the form A to gain recruitment or to get a job, you might also have to fake on the form B, right?
Yes.
If there is no consistency of scores between the 2 forms, that means there were either the person was trying to go for socially desirable responses to appear in a certain way to gain the job, or there might be some external variables. That person did not appear the test in the right spirit, or the person was nervous. There could be so many reasons. So this is some of the occasions where alternate or parallel forms can be useful. So alternate or parallel form are useful in follow-up studies or in investigation of the effects of some intervening experimental factor or test performance. And it reduces the possibility of cheating, right? So if I was a certain personality type on form A, and if when I administer form B, and if I am getting a very different personality type, but if you carefully identify that personality is a disposition, it does not changes totally over a period of 6 months. This is a property. This is the property of personality. This is the nature of personality, that there might be a few changes in behavior, but the core temperament and the core personality won't be changing in a matter of 6 months. That means the person is cheating, or there are some external factors involved in the administration of the test. But it has as much as it has some pros, and it also has some limitations, that how to make the both forms equivalent in true sense. So if we are making two forms of achievement motivation, or two forms, form A and form B, for personality, then they have to be equivalent. Their score should be equivalent. If they are not equivalent, then their reliability coefficient may not be based on true variance. Then it would reveal the different result that would affect the reliability. Okay, so this is a method of split half or a parallel form, that if you give a customer a survey ka version 1 and survey version B, and if both of them are if a person is getting scores the same way, that means the parallel forms are the parallel form or alternate form reliability coefficient is high. And this is the example of split half method. All 20 take test 1. So, and this is all 20 take the test B. Now we will talk about reliability in terms of internal consistency. Internal consistency means homogeneity of the test. Okay, let me give you one more example of homogeneity. When you are cooking, or you are have you seen a packet of gems?
Yes.
So do you think gems is a example of homogeneity?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Taste it's same.
But all of them look different. The colors are different.
Yes, colors are different, but taste it's same.
Then how would you say it is internally consistent or externally consistent? Their internal consistency is right. That if you put everything together, it would still taste the same, even if their color was different.
Yes, ma'am.
But externally, it may not be consistent, because all of them are not having the same colors. But if you see a packet of dal, then it is internally consistent or not?
Internally consistent.
It would be a better representation of internal consistency, because not just the items look similar, but they are shaped in the similar, they smell similar. That is the example of internal consistency. So even if I have that half kg of dal, even if I cook half and half in two separate things, it would still be a dal. It won't become anything else.
Yeah.
So split half method. So there is one example of split half method. How many is a Rorschach ink blot test? So how many, if you know, how many cards are there in the Rorschach ink blot test?
11 cards.
11 cards. Okay. So if you were to do a split half method, how would you do that for Rorschach cards?
5 one side and 6 one another side.
10 cards though.
Hello?
Hello, 10 cards, not 11 cards.
Yes, Yashwati, it has 10 cards, not 11 cards.
Yes, but okay.
It has 10 cards. So if you are trying to identify the split half method for Rorschach test, then how would you do the split half? First 5 or next 5?
Maybe first 5 or last 5, and maybe 1,
Okay.
3, 5, 7.
Do you remember
and
what
2,
is
4.
the nature of Rorschach cards? Have you seen them?
Yes, ma'am. 5 black and 5 white, and red also there.
I think you're not well aware of the cards. So a few cards have black ink on them, a few cards have black and red ink on them, and a few cards are multichromatic. They have different colors. Then how would you do first half and second 5? So split half does not always means the first 5 and the second 5. Right? Split half, first 5 and second 5 can only be done if all the items are homogeneous. When I was talking about dal, every other grain of that dal or that pulse was same. So even if I put it into 20 parts, all of them would be the same. But can we do the same for Rorschach cards? No, because some of the cards are black, has black ink on them. Some of the cards have black and red ink on them. And some of the cards have multiple inks. They are multichromatic. In that case, the better way of split half is doing by odd even method. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That would represent the true split half in case of Rorschach. So when we talk about split half method, we have to be really careful. What is the nature of the items? Okay, can you do split half if a test was power test? How would you do a split half? It was a power test. Can you do first 5 and next 5?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because difficulty level may be changed if we do
Right,
first 5.
right. Because the first 5 would be the easy ones and the next 5 would be the difficult one. That means we won't, in that way, we cannot establish a good reliability coefficient because it is a power test.
Yes, ma'am.
In that case, we have to use split half method in a way of odd even method. Right? So
Right.
be very careful. Sometimes when you are trying to attempt it, when we think split half, we actually think we have to divide it into different parts. Okay, what if you have a chocolate and you have to share with your brother, but one end of the chocolate has more nuts and jellies included and one half is just chocolate? If you break it into half, do you think it is an equal distribution?
No.
No, you cannot do that because one part only has chocolate and the second part has chocolates and raisins and nuts on it. That would not be a true score. It won't be a true half. So if you don't want to fight with your brother, then you would have to break into half and then break the two parts into other halves, and then have one chocolate part and one mixed part, and one chocolate part and one mixed part. That would be a true split half method.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why you have to understand what is the meaning of split half. So this is a representation of split half. The first half and the second half, 1 3 5 7 2 4 6 8. So this is how it is done. And then when we calculate the split half reliability, then we this is the ID 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 for question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, question 5. For the odd test, this is the reliability, this is the score, and this is for the even one. And for odd, the mean is 1.83. For the even, the mean is 1.33. For odd, the SD is 0.75. For even, the SD is 1.21. That means there is some variability in the test scores. It is not a very true. So the reliability coefficient would be positive, but it won't be very strong. It won't be indicating very highly reliable results. So another method of calculating internal consistency is Cronbach coefficient alpha. So there are two techniques. One is Cronbach coefficient alpha, and another is Kuder-Richardson method. So both are used in different situations. You cannot use both of them in place of each other. Okay. So when we want to use Cronbach coefficient alpha, it mainly tests to see if a multiple question like Likert scale surveys are reliable. So will you be using this method for your test?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Likert type scale. Right.
It has a multiple question Likert scale survey. So if you want to check if it is your the internal consistency for your test, then you would apply Cronbach coefficient alpha. So what it does, it correlates each single items with all other items and eliminates the items that do not correlate well. So when we are trying to calculate coefficient alpha, so this is our item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we are talking about Cronbach coefficient alpha, it correlates each single items with all other items. So what would it look like? Each single items with all other items. Let me change the color. How would it look like? 1 with 2, 1 with 3, 1 with 4, 1 with 5, and similarly 2 with 1, 2 with 3, 2 with 4, sorry, 2 with 4 and 2 with 5. What is the method of checking internal consistency? Okay, what if you have 10 rice grains you have cooked? How do you see if all of them belong to same packet? You would see if all of them are cooked in the same fashion. If one, suppose these 5 grains, and you want to have an internal consistency, if they are from the same packet, you have 2 packets. But all of them suddenly got into one container. Then what is a good way of good way of doing this? They would be visibly same if all of them look similar. But if you want to see, you want to correlate each one with each other. So if it is correlating, then it's good. But when it is not correlating, then we have to eliminate that. So it is a measure of internal consistency, which explains how closely related a set of items are as a group. And it is considered to be a measure of scale reliability. Have you understood it?
Yes, ma'am.
Then how will you do it in your test? Okay, if a person has certain okay, let's go ahead. You would be so when you calculate Cronbach alpha, we would do it in Excel. Okay, so there is a level of reliability. So if it is between 0.0 to 0.20, it is less reliable, and it is less 0.20 to 0.40 rather reliable, 0.40 to 0.60 quite reliable, 0.60 to 0.80 reliable, 0.80 to 0.1 very reliable. And form of evaluation made in Likert scale of 1 through 4 with details. So this is how, if your Likert scale looks like very poor, not good, good, and very good, then if you are correlating each item with all the other items of the test, and if your items are not correlating with each other, then you would remove the items which are not correlating with each other. Okay, so if they are not reliable, then you would remove that item, because if it is not internally consistent, it would not give you the right reliability coefficient. The next is Cooder-Richardson 20 coefficient alpha. Cooder and Richardson 1937 did a series of researches to remove some of the difficulties of split half method. So these must have identified some of the difficulties of split half method. They devised their own formulas for estimating internal consistency. So their formula 20 and 21 have become very popular, and KR20 is the basic formula for computing reliability coefficient. Okay, so what was the problem with the Cronbach alpha? That it can only be used when your response type is Likert type scale. But what if you have a yes no type of response type? Then we cannot do that.
Yes, ma'am.
So Cooder-Richardson, so it is only used when each item has a right answer. So where we cannot use it on a scale which has some amount of agreement. The response type has some amount of agreement. Disagree, agree, very poor, poor. If there is one right answer and one wrong answer, yes or no, true and false, right and wrong, then only you can do the coefficient alpha. Do you remember any test which has yes or no type of dichotomous test? Dichotomous response types. Can you
No,
think
ma'am.
of any?
Not in mind, ma'am.
Okay. Think. Have you used any scale which has only one right answer?
Only one right answer, ma'am. Multiple choice questions are same.
How can one? Okay, multiple choice. Okay. Multiple choice has one answer. Okay. If you give a speed test, they only have one right answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where it is used, because speed test have only such as IQ test. Okay. What if I give you an option 20 minus 10 is equal to 10 and the response type is yes or no? Twenty minus 10 is equals to 10 and you have option yes or no.
Yes.
Then it is a dichotomous answer.
Yes. Yes.
Our multiple choice questions also have dichotomous. It is a way of, it is not a Likert type, but yeah, it has a dichotomous. So when we are giving an option of multiple choice, the answer is still yes or no, but we are also providing different options so that it is not the person, one can identify with the help of distractors. So when you would have studied the response type, multiple choice are given. Some of one is a true correct answer, one is absolutely wrong, and the two options in a multiple choice are distractors. They are close to the right answer. So to check the item reliability and the performance of the students, how many people have tendency to go for so it helps in comparing the people who score high on a test and low on a test. This is where multiple choice questions are used. But a very specific characteristics of Kuda-Richardson coefficient alpha, it is used only when each item has a right answer. It is not supposed to be used with a Likert scale. So because the K20 scores range for only 0 to 1, where 0 is no reliability and 1 is perfect reliability. The closer the score is to 1, the more reliable is the test. This is the formula of Kuda-Richardson 20. K is the total number of test items. Summation indicates the sum. P is the proportion of the test takers who pass the exam. Q is the proportion of test takers who fail an item. And sigma 2 is the variation of the entire test. So this is the formula of Kuda-Richardson, and these can be calculated with the help of it. So this is one of the example. So these are the people 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and these are the person. Sorry, this is the item, and these are the person 1 2 3 4 5, and these are the items, and the response type is 0 and 1. So 1 1 1, it can only be 1 or 0. There is no other possibility. So x, this is calculating. So here it is written 9. So this is the sum of people who have a correct answer on one item, that is 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, so this is these are the value 0.8, 0.2, 0.0, 1.0, and if both of them are calculated, pi into qi, I do not know where this value came from. One second. Okay, P is the proportion of test taker who pass an exam, and Q the proportion of test takers who fail in an item. Okay, so this is the proportion of I think the who have passed the exams, and this is who have failed the exams. I have to clarify on this. Let's move ahead to the third one. I'll help you understand this. I might have to use a different example. So the third one is scorer's reliability. Scorer's reliability is reliability which can be estimated by having a sample of tests independently scored by 2 or more examiners. The two set of scores obtained by each examiner are completed in a usual way, and the resulting correlation coefficient is known as scorer's reliability. So scorer's reliability, when a sample of test is independently scored by 2 or more examiners. We have 2 or more examiners who are scoring the test. Okay, so this is specifically used in some of the conditions where there is some amount of subjectivity can be involved in the test procedures. So if suppose if I am okay, if I am administering the Rorschach test and I am coming up to a certain personality type of a person, but the person wants to check if the test, if I have done the test in the correct form, or there might be some indication of subjectivity, they would get it tested from a different scorer. And then if the two scorers are checked, and if I'm getting the same personality, then that means the scorer reliability is high. Okay, let me give you one more example. If you perform on a test, so if you know how is the CBSE checking is done?
No, ma'am.
So CBSE has at least 2 people checking each copy.
Okay.
So that there is no variation in the test. So if I am a person, so this is generally done to remove the subjectivity in scoring.
Okay.
Okay, if I am a person of a maths, I am a teacher of a maths, and I, even if the student, okay, let's not talk about maths, then they will have to give the, because maths has a clear cut answer. Suppose I am a teacher of geography and I do not give enough marks to students. You know, there are some teachers who never give marks above 70 to anyone.
Yes, ma'am.
And there are teachers who are very liberal in awarding marks.
Yes.
Okay. So what if you get in one semester on a geography test, out of 100, you only get 60. And if in another semester, you are appearing for it again, and then you are getting 90 marks. Then what is the nature of reliability here?
Scorer reliability. I mean, scorer reliability is low.
Yeah, the scorer's reliability, because then we would check if the test items are different or the method of checking was different, because now the how the scorer is distributing the marks, that have to be checked. If a first teacher has a tendency of awarding very less marks, so there has to be some criteria. So in order to remove the subjectivity in the scores due to scorers, scorer reliability is estimated having a sample of test independently scored by 2 or more examiners. So if you are making a test, then you would give it to 2 or more scorers. Then the 2 set of scores obtained by each examiner are completed in the usual way, and the resulting correlation coefficient is known as scorer reliability. And the source of error variance and scorer's reliability is inter-scorer differences. So when I gave you an example, in the first test you received, you got 60 marks, and in the second attempt with another scorer you are getting 90 marks. Then here the source of error variance is the inter-scorer differences. It is not, it is how the scorers have uh, given you the set of scores. Those are very different from each other. But if you would be getting 60 marks in one, and in the second one also you are getting around 62, 63 or 64 marks, that means the scorer's reliability is high. So can you give me one more example of how people use scorer's reliability? Do you know there are some people who are not okay with their test results in boards and they go for reevaluation?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is where scorer's reliability is being checked. If a person thinks I have attempted correctly and I was, according to my assumption or according to my estimate, I was supposed to be getting 80 marks test on a test and I have only got 60 marks, then the person's so उसकी percentage drop हो जाएगी ना, because he was estimating I was getting 80 marks out of 100, now he's getting 60 only in one subject,
Yes.
but he thinks he had performed good enough to get around 80 if not exactly 80. So in that person, if the student is unsatisfied with the scores, then they would ask for re-evaluation. And if the person gets 62, 63 again, that means where was the error? On part of scorer or on part of student estimation?
One part of student estimation.
Right. The student did not estimated his performance correctly.
Yes.
But what if in the original evaluation, the student has gotten 61 marks, and in the other evaluation, the person gets 85 marks. Then
Scorers difference is there.
it is inter-scorer difference.
Yes, ma'am. Inter-scorer difference.
Then in that case, there would be some action could be taken on the first scorers because they might not be following a protocol for checking.
Yes.
But that does not happen very well because even CBSE has a criteria of how much marks you can give, if you know. So CBSE has a criteria how much marks they can award. If a person, so they are also trying to in some manner, they are also trying to make it reliable. So if it is a 2 marks question and the definition, suppose the definition of sustainability is given in the book, if the person has remembered and written the same definition as it is, you have to give 2 marks. And if a person has written some of the important words of the definition of sustainability, then they can give 1.5 marks. If a person has vaguely described sustainability, then 1 marks. So it is clearly indicated in the CBSE, in the way CBSE checks the papers of students. So if it was 10 marks question, then if the student is fulfilling all the demands of the question, if it was diagram, it was critically evaluate it, if it was example, and not just that, the answer is well articulated on each level, then the people do get 10 on 10 marks as well if they are fulfilling all the criteria in good well articulated language. But if the person is answering only the first part of the answer question, then they would get 5 marks only. So that's how CBSE is also trying to justify their process of checking. So in any case, if there is some difference and a person goes for revaluation, it can be checked on what basis some scores had been awarded to students, right? So this is how scorer reliability is enhanced if there is some criteria which is given for scorer's reliability. Okay, what is this? So what did you understand, Yashwati, in today's lecture?
Reliability and types of reliability. Reliability is consistency of scores. It is of types of reliability are test, retest reliability.
So when you were talking about the Rorschach, do you think it is when you were going for the first half and the second half, it wasn't a good representation of split half, because the first 5 cards have only one color, 2 colors in them. But in the next 5 cards, it has monochromatic cards as well. It has multiple colors as well. So if you were to do a split half in true sense, then you would go for 1, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right?
Right, ma'am.
So these are for some of the factors affecting reliability. Reliability scores are influenced by large number of factors. There are some extrinsic factors which lie outside the test and tend to make the test reliable and unreliable, such as variability in the range of ability of the group, environmental conditions, guessing by the examinee, momentary fluctuations in the individual and examinee. So these are the extrinsic factor, and some of the intrinsic factor which lie within the test. So when we are talking about intrinsic factor, it do not lie in the individual, it lie within the test and which influence the reliability of the test. If the characteristic of items is not variable, the range of total score, the length of the test, the homogeneity of the items, the difficulty value of the items, the discrimination value of the items, the scorer's reliability. So if the test is not able to discriminate between high scorers and low scorers, then the reliability would be affected. If the items are not homogeneous, then the reliability would be low. If the difficulty value is too high, then the reliability would be impacted. If the length of the test is too high, if the test has say 200 questions, then in the test only, in the first 50, the person would be attempting the test on a very calm and relaxed manner, but in the last 50 to 70 items, the person would be exhausted. Have you ever thought in the net examination why some of the psychometric questions are at the end of the test? They do not put it intentionally, but sometimes some questions are put in the end of the test to check if you are able to answer them, even if your mind is tired or not. Or it also checks your ability as a individual. How do you choose to attempt some items which are best attempted when you have a fresh state of mind rather than when you are tired? Okay, now reliability is complete. So Yashwati, in the next class, please bring the scores of your test. Then we would be computing the different types of reliability and also Cronbach alpha. Okay, on your test scores
Okay.
only.
Okay.
And if Iti also comes up with her questionnaire and some data, then we would be able to compute with her, because you would be doing it on the screen and with the help of Excel or R or SPSS. So you were not there in the last class, last to last class when we did R. Have you downloaded R?
Yes, ma'am. I have downloaded.
Okay, okay. So in the next class, whatever the types of reliability which we have revised today, we would be trying how many can be tried. So Kuda Richardson cannot be tried on your, so we can, maybe we can try the split half reliability, and we can try Cronbach alpha.
Converge, yes, ma'am.
And after some duration, then we can try test-retest reliability as well. If you give, okay, are you aware of the duration, which is the interval time duration, which is kept, ideal time duration, which is kept between the two test administration in test-retest reliability?
1 month or 15 days.
So a fortnight, 15 days is considered an ideal time, because after that, anything less than that, that means the person would remember the items and their responses, and anything more than that, uh, what would happen? The person's state, psychological state, and some of the external factors could be so different than that they could have some impact on our reliability scores. Okay, what if you are trying to calculate test-retest reliability? Okay, let me give you a very interesting example. Are you aware of, do you remember when was the first lockdown was
Yes,
implemented?
March 2020. 22nd March.
Yeah, 22nd March. Everyone remembers that date very clearly. So what if you were, as a psychometrician, you were developing a test, and you did first test administration, and you were trying to apply test-retest reliability, and you had done the first administration on the first week of March, and when the test you were trying to do the second test administration, you had planned, it was planned beforehand that this is how I will do the test administration, and that is how my the gap between the two test administration would be, that the first test administration would be done on the first week, and the second one would be done in the last week, and that way you would be able to have around 15 to 16 days interval between two administration, and you are also able to do that. But are the conditions very similar?
No, ma'am.
No, because in the first week of March, people were only well aware that there is something called COVID or Corona, which is being circulated, and this infection is there in China. But in the March, by the mid-March, it was pretty much India also, there were many cases in India as well, and there were many cases in Rajasthan as well. Then they had to take the precautionary measure and implement lockdown by 22nd March, and you did your test administration. Suppose you were developing a test of stress, the scores would be so different, because there would be some external factor of stress which would be impacting your scores. So even if you are taking care of so many conditions, that you are taking an interval of 15 days, the test items are similar, the population is similar, the sample you have decided is pretty much the same, and everything else you have taken in consideration, but now the stress levels would be high, not because the people are generally stressed this way, but there is some external factor, COVID, anxiety, would be contributing to your test results. That means there are so many ways in which your test-retest reliability would be impacted. What if you did it before 22 March and there was no hint of lockdown, then your scores wouldn't be as skewed as you were assuming it to be. And even 1 month before, if you did your first set of test administration in February and the next one in the first week of March, it would still give you pretty much reliable results. But if the external conditions are changed so much, that would impact the scores between the two test administration. So there you have to keep into mind so many factors which could impact your reliability. So next time I'm expecting some scores so that you do it while we are explaining, and you're able to identify which items to keep, which items to eliminate. Okay. So Yashwati, have you done the next assignment, which was around item reliability, item analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll check your assignments, and I'll also put a reminder to people who are not submitting assignments, because unless you are
Yes.
keeping up with the lectures and submitting the assignments, we won't be able to process your certificate.
Okay, ma'am, please check my response sheet so that I can get idea what to do further or how to get the score.
Response back to you, but I will be only be able to do that if there is an assignment in front of me. If there is no assignment, that means no progress. You're not attending the classes. This is especially for Iti and Vilma, who are not attending the classes, and even if they are attending, they are not doing the assignments on time. It is very crucial, because questionnaire construction, the theoretical part was, even if you can do the theoretical part in the book, all the concepts are there, but what you would learn here, how to actually construct a test, which involves so many steps, establishing reliability, then we would be moving forward to validity, norms, everything would be done in the classes itself. Now every step would be technical, and would be done with the help of statistical evaluations and analysis. So unless you attend the class, you won't be able to get it. Okay, on that note, my part is finished. Sir, do you want to add anything more?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I like to add that during the test-retest reliability, researcher should not tell the subject that the same data again will be collected from him or her.
Yes, sir. That's a point I missed. Yes, sir. Because now
this is very, very important.
If they know that the same test would be administered once again, then they would try to memorize the test items and the scores.
And the second point, I have developed one statistical model about the test-retest reliability, wherein you will find the cluster of items for the period 1 and for the period 2. How the cluster of items, they are forming the similarity. And this model already published in some Spanish journal. So I think in near future, if students are interested for the multivariate approach, then I can tell them that is how multivariate modeling can be used in test-retest reliability. I have developed that model, and that is very useful. Okay. The current model is the bivariate, because the correlation will be there for the period 1 and the period 2. So that will be the bivariate. And there are some non-parametric statistics also that can be made. So in near future, one can do research on that area also.
Yes, sir.
And specifically in case of the Rorschach test, since the split-up reliability is very high, so the patient suffering from high level of depression, who can give you the response only to the first 5 cards, you can assume that maybe you will get the similar type of response for the next 5 cards. Or you can apply the odd even technique also. When you find the patient is suffering from okay.
Yes, sir.
That means the knowledge of the psychometric properties of the psychological test that can help you in making some important decision during the critical time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Jashati. So may I close now?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Bhakshishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashwati. Have a good evening, good night, and I'll see you in the next class.